Hey friends, it's Stacy here with Stacy Makes. Welcome or welcome back to this channel. I appreciate you being here. If you are new, my name is Stacy. Obviously, that would be weird if it wasn't. And I do crochet stuff. So I crochet. I don't do it all day like my shirt says. I want to. I'm thinking about it pretty much all day, but I do work a full-time job. So this is just a side dream hobby thing that I do in my spare time. But I do markets, I design patterns, I do little crochet challenges, and I just appreciate you being here. I've been on YouTube for almost 1 year. I think the very first week of February was my first video upload last year. So it's been an exciting journey and I appreciate you guys being here. And for those that are always here, thank you. Okay, let's move on and talk about what I did this week and then we'll get into it. So this is just a week of crochet again. I don't have a market for 6 weeks. So we will start talking about market prep in the next few weeks. Although I am market prepping, I'm just making what I want to make and replanning inventory because I don't have much left. Hopefully this week I would like to do a live and go through all the inventory I do have left. And then once that's done, I would like to price the stuff that I've made so far and get it all put away. And we might do that on a live this week. So maybe or maybe not. Sometimes I make those plans and things just come up. So either way, I hope to do an inventory and tag this week and kind of see where I'm at. I think I probably have around 1,000. I'd like to have 2 to 2,500 going into the first show. And then just keep building it on there so that I am not prepping like crazy come fall when it really is the busy season. So, but also having fun doing it because it's just for fun. So I'm going to talk about stuff that I made that is just stuff I've made before. I've got some new patterns for you that I tried, and we're going to talk about those and review those. And then we're going to go over the new patterns that I designed and that actually released late yesterday that are now out for you guys to purchase if you are looking forward to them. So I did a little challenge this week. I was kind of like, I wanted to buy some patterns, try something new. I had looked through all of the ones that I'd bought and even the ones I hadn't made yet. And I was like, nothing was just calling my name. And I'm like, I need something to like make me do something new and maybe get me out of my comfort zone. So I decided to I scrolled on Instagram and I'm like, the first 3 patterns that people are talking about, they've made and they've tagged, or the designer is promoting and has tagged, the first 3 that I see that I don't own personally already, I'm going to go find them, I'm going to make them, and I'm going to feature them in this week's video. Sorry, I forgot to open my Diet Mountain Dew before I got started. So, this week I am featuring 3 brand new patterns that I've never made before. I just bought this last week, and they're from creators. I don't think I've ever bought from these 3 creators either in any other pattern form. So the designer itself was brand new to me. I did skip over, I can't remember, there was 1 or 2 that I might have skipped over because they were massive projects that I was not going to be able to finish in a week and do anything else. And they just weren't something that was going to be good for my market target audience. So outside of skipping a few that I just knew I wouldn't be able to accomplish, I went with the first 3. So we're going to get into it. And we'll start with the smallest to the largest. And that is with this alligator. And you guys are probably thinking, okay, everyone is talking about a baby alligator by somebody, but this is not the baby alligator everybody's talking about. That's brand new and it's by somebody else. This one is by Nat's Crochet Creation. It's been out for quite a while. I believe the pattern is $3.50. It's not super expensive. I'll go ahead and show it to you. This is the alligator. I think it's called a baby alligator. It's definitely a no-sew pattern. It is, you know, everything's made in the round, which usually it gets me with the legs, and I have to be a little bit more strategic about how I place them and where I place them. This is the tie-dye-ish yarn, and when I pulled it out, I'm like, oh good, it's gonna start dark. And then all of a sudden it had this huge white patch, and then it got dark kind of at the end, and I'm like, I would have much preferred this color all the way through. But anyway, I have a patchy albino alligator apparently. I will say this was easy. This was not complicated. You do have to be a little careful about how you stuff the snout. So unlike some other baby alligator patterns, this one starts off with a magic ring, which makes a tube. And so if you just stuff it like you do a tube, you would have a very circular round snout instead of something that's a little bit more flat like this. So when I did stuff it, I made sure to really push towards the sides to really try to shape this and to be flatter, and to be flatter this way as well, so it didn't look like a tube. So if you do make this pattern, just be aware that there is so much, and we'll get to that just a little bit later too, because I have a new pattern that I designed that I'm going to show you, that if you don't stuff the animal in the correct places with the correct firmness, the correct amount of, pushing it out in the right places, the shaping is just not going to look like what it needs to look like. There is an art to using stuffing the correct way, and I'll get into that a little bit more later, but this brought it to my attention again, and just being aware of that, just not just to stick polyfill in there and be like, oh, it's a crappy pattern because it's a circle and it shouldn't be. But you're responsible in some ways for how you stuff it and shape it, and if it ends up not looking like the pattern in the picture, that may be part of the reason, is the stuffing that you're doing. So just be aware of that. I will tell you about halfway through this tail, I'm like, am I ever going to end? How many more rows do I have? Because I did feel like the tail was quite a bit longer than the body, but really it's probably pretty accurate. I mean, alligators' tails do go on for quite a ways after their back legs, so it's probably a little bit more realistic than if it had ended here. So anyway, it was a fast pattern. It probably took me around 40 minutes. I don't know that it would even take me that long the next time, because I have now done it and I realized what's the underbelly and what's the top, and then the leg. I mean, I had to adjust them a little bit in the round. But easy pattern. I don't know if I would make a whole bunch more of these. I had a gecko pattern that was similar to this style that did take me some time to get rid of all of them, and I think I still might even have one left, and I made 4. But we'll see. Anyway, this is the baby alligator by Nat's Crochet Creation, and all of these are on Etsy, and I will link them all in the description below. So that was the first one. I think I'm going to price them at $15. Okay, next up was a pattern by Loved Knots, K-N-O-T-S, Knots. When I came across this pattern in my feed, it's designed to be, it's a holiday hound, and it's designed to be the Grinch's dog Max, I believe. I'm not real familiar. I mean, I've watched the Grinch, but I'm not a fanatic or anything, but it's meant to be, I believe, the Grinch's dog. So it has some bones that you can make, and it's actually designed to be a rattle toy that you can buy little rattles that go in the feet. I didn't read enough or do enough research. Obviously, I just bought the pattern because it came up on my feed. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a cute little dog. And so when I read the pattern, I'm like, it could be made without the rattles. It could be made without the bones. So mine just looks like a dog, which actually it's really cute. It's no-sew. It's a unique design. Let me go ahead and show it to you. This is my holiday hound. His little body shape and his face shape. You guys can see. I'll just hold him like this. So it's a really unique design. There's a few things in here that I hadn't done before. Oh, not done before, but really seen done, I guess, in this style. So you do make the legs and make the arms. and make the ears before you get started. You work the head from the front to the back. And you're thinking, but Stacy, you told me this is no-sew. And it is. It is. You work the head from the front to the back. And I got the head done and I thought, oh my gosh, that head is tiny for these little ears. Now it does say if you want shorter ears, you can take out a round or two, which it was after the ear instruction. And I didn't even think about, like, you're making the ears before you make the head. So like, the first time I've made it, I have no idea if I want them shorter because I have no idea how they're going to be proportioned to the body that I made with my hook size. So I just made them the way the pattern said to make them. All the way, you know, the longest, which I think turned out really cute. I hand painted these safety eyes and I thought that they were just like the perfect brownie cocoa color for this dog. But anyway, so you work your way from the front to the back. You do a chain start across instead of a magic ring to work in. Everything I do, guys, like my starting seams, they go diagonal. And because I know that about myself and because I designed patterns and I've done so many, I pay really close attention to things lining up with the way they're supposed to in the picture. So when I got this head and the chains are across and I'm working my way backwards, and then it's telling me, it's starting to do increases, and my increases are kind of starting to stack to not centered on this chain. And so I can kind of read a pattern ahead and kind of look and be like, oh, these increases are going to stack. Let's say this, you know, my chain is here. My increases were going to stack more here instead of being centered over my chain. So I can read ahead and realize that there was supposed to be 4 single crochets maybe at the end of the round under here. And so I just put them on the other side, and then I still had the same stitch count in the round. I really don't think that that's redesigning it or modifying it greatly for me. That's not a huge inconvenience. It's something I'm so used to doing. But if you are a newbie and your stitches also go this way and you're not familiar enough to add a single crochet or take one out or keep your stitch count correct, or you just want a pattern where you don't have to think about things lining up if your tension's off, this may not be for you. I would say it's more of an advanced beginner or an intermediate pattern because of the part I'm going to talk about next, which is while you are making the head, you leave a chain 3 space open on the bottom. You skip 3 stitches, you chain 3 over them, and you leave a hole. And that is where you reattach and make this body part. And if, again, I had not been lining up my increases and paying attention to where this hole was, his body would have been like attached to like most, you know, the side of his head instead of right underneath and centered above his eyes. I had to go, I think I had to do 2 more single crochets, then do my chain 3 skip. Again, I just did that with my increases and looking at the chain. I didn't even have my eyes in yet because I think, you know, we're doing that like way too close to the eye round. And so I just had to kind of, okay, and I still think I might have moved it 1 more if I could have. It's still maybe just 1 stitch off more than, but again, you're not gonna probably notice that. And then, so we left that open, we got to the back, we placed the eyes, the ears are crocheted into the round. They're super adorable. And then you reattach and work your way up from the chain 3 hole up this way, attaching the arms and the legs into the body. There is some special decreases in these arms. This is where the rattles go. And I think I did one of them. It says to pay close attention to making sure the decreases are facing towards the body. And when you're working upside down and around, I think I did one of them. Yeah, I did this side. I did this fine on this side, and then when I attached this side for some, I don't know, something about what I was doing, I think I did them upside down. But it's not like you can tell when you're just looking at him. It's not like it's going to keep me from selling him. He is just he is just so cute. You could have opted to not stuff him probably on the bottom and just let him be like a little, and you could have totally embroidered the eyes at the end and made this super baby safe too, especially, you know, yeah, you totally could have done that. But anyway, super adorable. Now, did I miss a tail? I might have to go back and look at the pattern to see if I missed tail instructions or we just didn't have a tail. Because I'm just now realizing that. I may have forgot it. Okay, I'll have to go back and look. Maybe editing Stacy will put a note up here whether or not I forgot the tail or if it just doesn't have one. Again, there was some bones that could have been made and put on here to make him look like he had antlers and was a reindeer per the Grinch movie, but I left them off. This is Premier Basics Chenille and Rust and Black. If anybody's wondering, these are size 20 millimeter eyes. They are sinkers. Super cute. Anyway, he's just a snuggly, adorable little size. I would say if I made him again, I could make him in just under an hour. Especially if I made notes on my PDF about the holes and the increases, and that way I didn't have to think about it again the next time. So definitely could do it again if I wanted to. And this is cute. I really like this puppy. And my kids thought it was adorable as well, which my kids are older, but they thought it was cute. Okay, so this is Holiday Hound by Loved Knots. And again, it's supposed to be a rattle toy. It's supposed to have bones. It's supposed to look like Max, but I just made him plain. So his pattern is $8 on Etsy. So if you do go to look for it, it's quite expensive. I think I abandoned the cart for a while and came back, which I didn't do it on purpose, but you know, if you do that, Etsy does have a thing where some sellers set up a, hey, come back, I'll give you 10% off. And I was thinking that I don't know if it was this one or the next one of them did have a 10% maybe code when I came back that I was able to apply, but still $8. He's a cutie. Okay, I'm gonna charge 20 for him. Okay, last but not least, and the biggest one that I did do was Palms and Posies US is the name on Etsy, which I think on Instagram she's just Palms and Posies. I had heard about this designer before. I believe she has a mermaid pattern, a lot of people do, and I had just never done any of her patterns before, and the pattern that came up in my Instagram feed just happened to be her hammerhead shark. And this was also $8 on Etsy, and I think it's the one that when I came back had a code, maybe. Anyway, this is Hamilton, the hammerhead shark. Okay, isn't Hamilton awesome? Okay, Hamilton took me about 1.5 to maybe an hour and 45 minutes. I did not time myself on these guys. I was just enjoying them. The one thing I will tell you, as you can see in this pattern, is that you have your two colors tied in the whole time until you get to the tail. I did not adjust anything for my color changes on this guy. So, you know, I was telling you how my color changes go like this. She did some adjusting in her pattern where instead of always changing at the same place, she would have one more on the side and then like she would go one over, and it kept the belly color pretty centered on this pattern. And yes, the white is supposed to come up on the sides. It's the way her pattern is written. And she has a little pattern for maybe putting a smile down here, which I didn't do, which my daughter loved this guy and was like, you need to put the little pink smiley. She's like, but I want it up here. But it was cute. I absolutely love sharks. I love marine animals in general. The bad thing about marine water animals in general is that they all have so many fins, and to make them look like the real deal, you got to make fins, which means this is not no-so in any sense of the imagination. You make a chain, you work your way up the body, you come back and close, you leave these two sides open, you skip them and move up this way. The tail is done in the round, which is nice. And then these three fins are the same. You just sew them on in 3 different places. They're not hard. And they're not, I mean, they really weren't hard at all. And then this one is like the same as the top as that one, but it's just obviously smaller. The fins on this were not hard or complicated at all. It was just turning around and then sewing them on the body later. This guy would be 10 times easier if you just made him a solid color, which I think you could do. You could do him in like a gray variegated or a blue, and really even the blue variegated, or make him in a fun color. I mean, it doesn't have to be a life-like color at all, but the color changes on the pattern are still going to be there, so you'll just have to ignore them when they say CC to color change, to just keep going with the color that you are making. And that way you're not, I mean, I don't fasten off. So the inside of this thing took a lot less polyfill because, man, these yarn tails were just the blue and the white, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, every single row. If you're not used to that, that might actually not be easy for you to do if you are not used to doing that. Again, I don't fasten off beginning and end every time. I start and I tie it inside to secure it, and then when I fasten off the color, I tie it off to secure it, but otherwise it strings back and forth with some slack. You want to make sure that you have enough for it to go across the design, so it's not pulling it in and misshaping it in any kind of way. But Hamilton he was not hard. He's trying to see, yeah, these eyes are also 20 mils. I kind of looked, and Hammerhead eyes are not huge. So I decided to use these hand painted blue safety eyes that I had. I enjoyed this pattern. I really did enjoy it. I think if I was going to make it again, I would make it solid. If I make it solid though, I may or may not be annoyed by the color change markings, but I don't think I will be. But it would be interesting to make it again and see in a solid and see how much faster that it really can be done. Because it was tying off and on each time was just not tying off and on, but just swapping the colors every so many stitches was kind of a chore. But well worth, I think, the outcome. I mean, he's cute, and he's a nice size. I mean, if you see him, he is a nice size. And compare him to the Holiday Hound, you can see he's a good size. I don't know if I have anything else to say about this pattern. It was easy. I don't think the fins gave a lot of instruction. It said sew them on between rounds, blah 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 and blah blah blah, like this way, but it didn't say like to attach them where the color changes or the belly color changes. I just kind of had to use the pictures as reference and do what I felt was right there. That was probably, you know, like they didn't say center them on each side where the color change meets or anything like that, I don't think. And so that was something I really had to think about. And then this tail was a unique way to do the tail, which I'd done stuff like that before, but it's a unique way to do that tail as well. So anyway, this is Hamilton the Great, or it's Hamilton the Hammerhead Shark, and by Palms and Posies US. And I think I'm going to try to see, what did I put down? I'm going to do 30 on him and see if I can sell him for 30. Okay, that's the 3 patterns I did on Instagram. My Instagram little challenge: the alligator, the hammerhead, and the hound. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It was just like a nice little, got out of my comfort zone, tried something that maybe I wouldn't have tried otherwise, and it was good. So okay, so let's talk about stuff I made this week that I've made before. So it's nothing new. It's not a new pattern that I need to review. Okay, earlier in the week, I will tell you, I made less things this week because I was pattern designing, which we'll get to later. So there's not a whole lot to go over. I made this llama. I've made this llama before. This is Keen Maker on Etsy. You can see it's a no-sew pattern. You work your way down and out and then down. You use bobbles for the feet. There is a pattern for a little blanket that goes over the back, which I don't make the way that they have it, and I hadn't made it yet. I don't know if I will make it. I think I might just leave him the way he is and see how he does. So This pattern, if you may, I told you I wasn't going to review the pattern, but if you do go to buy this pattern, there is it does not tell you to the very end to put your safety eyes in, which if you are a glue your safety eyes in or glue them on because they're felt, or you're an embroiderer, it won't matter. But if you are a put your safety eyes in and use the backers before you get too far person, it's going to matter to you. And it's really hard to get them in there if you wait until you're way down here where you're chaining out and you can see where the side of the llama is. And I forgot about this until I made it again, obviously this time, and I was like, oh yeah, I should probably write it down. Like, you know, I don't know where, this is my starting stitch, and I think that pretty much I installed them on the opposite side from my starting stitch. I went down, read the pattern ahead, and was like following my starting stitch diagonally, thinking this is where the chain was, and I just took a chance on it. I'm like, if he's looking a little bit more this way, or this way, or this way, is it really going to matter? Only if he was looking completely backwards would it be kind of weird, so I just went for it. So if you do buy this pattern, then that is one thing to remember, is put your safety eyes in long before they tell you to. And the opposite side of your start is the front, facing away from the body if you want the eyes to be like this. Okay, I do 20 on the llamas, and this one's out of Sweet Snuggles. All of my Sweet Snuggles is currently the good old formula, so I'm still using it. Okay, llama. I went live this week and made 2 rubber ducks. If you missed that, it was Friday night. I had a long week. The kids are snowed in all week. They did not have school. They were supposed to go back Monday. We had a snowstorm last week. I talked about in my video. Well, we got like, I don't even know, probably 10 inches of snow on Sunday. Between Sunday and Monday, we had like 5 to 6 inches. Then we had a layer of ice, freezing rain in the middle. It was pretty thick. And then we had another 2, 3, 4 inches on top of that. It's so hard to tell when it's dry and it's blowing all over the place. But I would say we had a good 10. And then it was still cold all week long. So the back roads, 60% of our population that go to the school live in the country on back roads, where these are oil chip roads, gravel roads, dirt roads. They have long lanes that they have to clean themselves. And so if it snows this much, I mean, the farmers get out and the tractors get out and people try to help each other where they can get out if they need to. But school buses are just not built to, you know, drive around on these roads. Were getting packed down and were like ice. So they didn't go to school all week. And I went to work, and then we got another probably a good 6 inches on Friday. It started Friday morning. I went to work Friday morning, and I thought once it's done 2 or 3 inches, I'm going to drive home before it gets really bad. And I did. I left at noon on Friday. But I just hadn't really talked to anybody all week long because I don't have a ton of coworkers at work. A lot of people didn't drive in. And it was just, I needed some socialization. So I threw up a live on Friday night, and I made these rubber ducks, which Heather from Cottontail Crafts reminded me about these because she was asking me what pattern I used for these. And I'm like, I can make those super easy without having to think about them during the live. So I got mine out and made myself some. So these rubber ducks are Nana's Hook Nook. Nana's Hook Nook on Etsy. She has a regular Bubbles the duck, and then she has a keychain pattern. This is the keychain pattern. A lot of confusion about which one I use, but I have both. And Jumbo Yarn in the regular duck, he's like, I mean, imagine 2 of these stacked on top of each other and like 3 times around. I've made one, and I did sell it at the first market I took it to, but it's not a sit and make it. It's probably, it takes a good hour. But these guys take a good 30 minutes when I'm not talking on a live, and they're super fast. And I put good glittery eyes on them, half an hour, and I sell them for 15, which is pretty good for a half an hour. I said I make better money sometimes on some of my smaller stuff than I do my bigger things. One thing to note, this is the exact same pattern, and you see his head shape on this guy. These are flat back eyes that sit on the surface. I hand painted those too. I don't know if you can see them. They're greeny looking. Okay. And they sit on the surface of the duck. You can see they're just like flush. These are sinker eyes. And the way a sinker eye works is you have the eye, and then the disc goes on the outside of the eye and it presses around it. And in here where it presses, it takes a layer of that yarn and it smashes it all in between the back disc and the outside of the eye. And when it does that, it can pull your design in flat. And see how it it pulls, because the backs are so big, it pulled the duck in on the sides so much so that it was hard to get the same shape. So I don't think I'll do sinker eyes on these before. This is the first one I've done. I'll probably stick to my flat backs, but this is a 23mm and these are 25s. Something else I talked about on my live is because these sink into the yarn, they look the same size pretty much when you look at them. Because these sit on the top, you're going to get the full outer rim and everything. These sink in, you're going to lose that outer rim, and so they end up looking almost the same size, even though these are bigger. The sinker eyes get a little bit more lost in the yarn. So anyway, I made these two, $15 is what I sell them for. And then I made, this is all from Jade's little swinging animals. This is her frog. I made 2 of them. I need to make swings. I'm going to go ahead and count them. I wouldn't normally do that, but I did these at work. I took yarn to work for my lunch break, and I just didn't get a chance to get the swings done. But these are actually Honey Bunny Baby Snuggle, or Hobie Yarns Baby Snuggle, not Honey Bunny. This is Baby Snuggle, which is very similar to Parfait Chunky. I had bought up there, I have bought like one of 8 or 9 colors to try, and I got rid of all my Parfait Chunky. I like this yarn. It's very similar to Parfait Chunky, except for it's a little more plushy and doesn't it sheds probably almost as bad. I mean, it's just chenille yarn. It's going to shed. Anyway, I need to make the swings, but literally the swings take me 2 minutes to make and 2 minutes to sew on, and so I'm just going to go ahead and count them. But I sell these for 10 when they're on the swings. Okay, that's everything I made this week. That was I've made before or was a brand new pattern besides my own pattern. So let's get into my pattern release this week. Last week I showed you guys the cardinal. This is Clay the Cardinal. And I told you I was working on my next pack. I sat down and designed the rest of these guys in this pack, and then I was writing it all up, and and I'm like, you know how easy it would be to make that seagull pelican. So the pack ended up with 4, which is fine. But this is Clay the Cardinal. This is Sally the Seagull. Her black tail feathers and her gray and black wings. This is the Pelican, Petey the Pelican, white tail feathers, white and black wings with the pelican bill, which actually, like, you can stick your finger into the bottom one anyway. If you haven't watched Heather's video, Cottontail Crafts, here on YouTube yet, or seen it on her Instagram, I haven't been able to watch it because she just loaded it up this morning, and then I film and then I'll edit and then I'll watch her stuff this afternoon or later today. But she made a little 3D printed fish that was so cute that she put in the bill. And then there's a mallard, which the mallard has a bill instead of a beak. All 4 of these have the regular feet, but the pattern does include a webbed feet mod that Robin from Knotting Hook Crochet helped me with all the pictures and design on it. So appreciate Robin for that. I had considered that and had decided to do regular feet, and then she decided, and I'm like, it's really not gonna be that much harder, Stacy, to do it now and include the web feet version. So this is released, the Sitting Birds 2.0 pack is what this is called. The 1.0 pack is the penguin, pigeon, and rooster / chicken. It's on sale today only. It'll end tonight, I think at midnight my time, for 25% off if you want to catch these guys. What's the other thing? Oh, I did also go back, and someone will need to test this theory for me that has bought the Sitting Birds 1.0. But I did go back, and some of the testers found some things on this pattern that are also on the original one that nobody really pointed out. And I wanted them to be very consistent. I didn't want someone to make a 2.0 bird and then go buy the 1.0 and be like, well, why did she do it? Or why does she say it this way in this one? Or why is it different? I mean, I didn't change the pattern itself on the 1.0 version, but I changed the way I formatted and the pictures that I showed. I feel like the pictures are more clear, the samples are more clear, and I included the webbed feet mod for the penguin. So if you have the 1.0 pattern and you've already downloaded it and you've bought it, I would love if somebody would go on their Etsy and re-download it and see if you get the new 1.0 pattern, if it gives you the new one or not. If it doesn't, because I've seen people say both things. I've seen people say, hey, go re-download it and you're going to get the new pattern or whatever. And then I've seen people be like, hey, there's no way for me to give you the new one, the new updated one, without me just resending it to you. So like, send me your order number and your email and I'll email it to you, which I really don't want to do, but I will do it for y'all because about 50 of y'all have bought the original pattern. And if you want the webbed feet and you want the updated pictures, I don't blame you. So someone try it on Etsy. Let me know down in the comments below if you get the new pattern with the new the new pictures of the feet and the new patterned front. It'll say 1.0 on it and I'll have the new picture on the front of that I have in the thumbnail. So someone try that for me to see if you get the new. If you don't, then I will take Etsy messages with an order number and an email, and I will email you guys the new version if you want it. And you just have to send me your order number showing that you ordered it and send me an email. Okay? If for some reason you go in to download it and it doesn't give you the new one. Otherwise, that's what I'd prefer you to do so I don't have to send 50 emails. Okay. So the birds are released. I love them. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a 3.0 pack or if I'm just going to do some mods, because there are so many birds you can make with just modding the colors. But some of the mods of colors are way more complicated than just like the mallard where you just change the color and it's the whole round. You know, it's more like you got to design the whole breast of the animal, or the bird needs to be whatever. And so I haven't decided if I'm going to do a 3.0 or not. But for now, my creative juices are like just flowing, guys. Like, I mean, I had such a hard time this week at work paying attention because I would just be in the middle of doing something and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can do that. Oh my gosh, I can do that. And my brain was just, which is amazing. And when it happens, you got to take advantage of it, because there are moments, months, weeks where I don't have a new creative thought in my brain. I am just, there are none. I would love to be doing a new pattern or whatever, but I have zero ideas. So I do write them down in a notebook, but at the same time, like, I'm strategically in my brain, I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, I can do it this way, and I could change this little thing, and I could do it that, and then sometimes I just have to do it. I have to sit down, write it out, and make it so that it just gets out of my brain, and I can sleep at night. Literally, like, when my brain's on a creative mode, I don't know if anyone else is like this, and I've always been like this. I literally go to sleep at night and I have a hard time going to sleep. But once I do, I literally dream about designing and creating and like whatever it is my creative juices are flowing about. I literally dream about it, and it's like I'm in half awake, half asleep, dream mode, and I just don't sleep well. So if I can get it out of my brain and onto paper, I do sleep better. So this is possibly the next pattern that you guys are going to see me release. So I know that you all love Pepper the skunk, and I had plans a long time ago when I released Pepper to make several other animals that are similar in type and shape and do different animals, and then maybe at some point bundle all the animals into a bundle if somebody wanted to buy all of them. It's best to do it right when you do it at the beginning so that you can do the bundles right away and people aren't like, hey, I already bought Pepper. But anyway, so here is this squirrel. This is my little squirrel. You will, hey, I don't, guys, I'm in love with this guy. His tail's floppy. But I'm just in love. I know that his nose is probably historically a little longer looking than most squirrels, but I did the embroidery on this nose like 3 times and it stretched the stitches out, and I think that's part of the problem. And 2, if you yarn under, you're gonna get a more compact nose probably anyway. So anyway, here is the squirrel I'm working on. His little eye highlights, I think, just making. I did those in Posh. Similar to Pepper, you work your way up and around the tail, but then you also tack it. But you could tack Pepper's tail too, but you can then tack this up here and make it kind of do this. Or you could leave it. I mean, if you just leave it, it just kind of drags behind him, which squirrels can do either, right? I mean, there's not one or the other. But I love this guy. He is not at all the same pattern as Pepper with just modified colors. He is, I mean, I thought I was going to be able to kind of use that, but you just can't. There was just no way to make the face shape and the body shape more plump, and it really, the only thing that is the same is the tail design, the way you make the tail off of it, but you even make the tail longer than you do the skunk tail. So and you have to surface crochet these ears on. There was no way to make this really neat shape that I really wanted to capture by doing it in the round, which is what you do on the skunk. So it is still no-sew. You just do have to go back and surface crochet your ears, and you have to take your fur yarn, your faux fur yarn, and go around the tail, which isn't hard. You're just working in the sides of the rounds and around. And I mean, you do that on the skunk, but you do a surface crochet all the way back and around to make the stripes on the skunk. And so this one's a little faster, and that you don't have to do. You don't have to do it all the way up the body. I mean, I guess you could, but you don't for the squirrel. So he's just so cute. Now this, when I was telling you earlier about stuffing, there are built-in increases on his little cheeks, and you need to pay attention to pushing the stuffing into those increases so that you get this chubby cheek kind of look. They're not huge, they're not like cartoon huge chubby cheeks, but they are definitely there. And so if you don't do that and push your stuffing out to the sides and really fill in those increases that are built in here for that reason, you're not going to get the same look. You know, you're going to just get a round head that doesn't have quite the shape that this guy has. So just keep that in mind if and when I release a tester call and or release the pattern for this, if you decide to make it. So hopefully you guys love this guy. I think that I just need to make him a time or 2 more, and then get some feedback and from some friends, and then maybe this guy will be ready to go out and Pepper will have a little friend. So here's the squirrel. I have no idea what his name's going to be yet. I let my tester group name Pepper. Actually, Cottontail Crafts, Heather from Cottontail Crafts named Pepper. I loved the name when she put it in the chat. So maybe we'll do the same. The little tester group, maybe we'll get to name the squirrel. So cute. Oh my gosh. I don't know how a rodent can be so adorable, but you know, you put it in yarn, amigurumi form, it's cute. Okay, the only other thing I did this week, which is in my inventory total, but I can't show you yet, is a tester pattern for Poggy's Place. I did her Dachshund Labrador group. She's got a whole huge pack of puppies coming out. And so I'm not going to show them to you because I didn't get permission to show them today because it's not released yet. So it'll have to wait until next week. So if I remember, I will, or you'll see it on my Instagram one way or the other. You'll see my little dachshund, which, you know, I just became a dachshund mom back in August for our very, very first puppy. And so there's a dachshund and a Labrador in the same pack, and we're supposed to make both. So I did make both. And so I have one of each. And if you know Poggy's Place's little bitty patterns, they're tiny. If you watched my channel before, and I have this little mouse that has the great big ears, that was also hers. And then I made the cardinal in jumbo yarn. That was her pattern as well, but in jumbo yarn, and it came out like this big. But when you don't, like when you make them in normal, like they're tiny. Like I made the dachshund in Hobie's Honey Bunny, and it's like, it like fits right here in my hand. It's tiny. It's so adorable. But anyway, it's not released yet, and I don't know when release day. I think it might be this week, so I should be able to talk about it next week. So that is in my inventory total, but you didn't get to see it today. Okay, total inventory made is $238 this week, which I think is great for any week of crochet making. Last week's total was twice as much almost, but it was over more than a week. It was over holiday breaks. I was off days, so I didn't expect it to be near that amount. My goal is at least a couple $100 every week, and since this week I took so much time designing, talking to my testers, and then working on my pattern that I am impressed that I did that much. I got up yesterday and started on my pattern edits at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I not only was doing pattern edits, I was taking and modifying better pictures. I'd already done the pieces and taken the pictures, but I was editing them and putting new notes on them and things for the pattern itself. And I was editing them and putting them into the patterns, and then I was going through the Google Drive doc, which everybody gets the Google Drive link, and they make comments on things that need to change. So I'm like going over all their comments and changing them on my pattern. You know, and somebody catches something on the mallard, well, it's the same on every other one of them. So I have to go back and change it on all the birds. And so it's a process for sure. And I worked on that pattern until a good 2 o'clock yesterday, before I felt like I had it done, and I sent it to the tester group to look over, and boom, like within 5 minutes, someone's like, the webbed feet is the same as the regular feet. And I had copied it and changed the header and not copied the pattern. I mean, like the most obvious thing in the world. But I'm like, all the work I did on this to try to catch everything, and here I didn't get the webbed feet. I didn't even put the new webbed feet pattern in there. I knew what it was. I just didn't. I had copied the way that the regular feet were written, and I changed the header, and I forgot to go down and change the actual pattern itself. And so I had to go back and do all of that. So, and then I think there was maybe one other like minor little edit that they found. And then while I was doing that pattern, I was working on the old 1.0 to update all of those pictures and modify it in the same exact ways. And I worked on patterns yesterday until 4:30, almost 5 o'clock, before I had the live release done of the 2.0 and the 1.0 final pattern. I wanted them to both be up at the same time. And the 1.0, I want to get the 1.0 up as soon as possible, just so that anybody new that was buying the new pattern was grabbing 1.02 was going to get the new pattern. It was less replacement patterns I was going to have to do. And so, I mean, it was literally my whole day yesterday. It was like an 8-hour work day of sitting at my computer doing edits outside of taking a break for lunch. It was crazy, but I mean, it was fun. It's amazing how much work can go into a pattern, especially like in a bundle like that, where basically it's 4 patterns in one, and because they're all written on their own pages. You know, you get Clay the Cardinal, and there's 2 pages of all just clay. And that way, when you're making clay, you can just focus on Clay's color changes. It's not like, oh, if you're doing the mallard, you do this, and if you're doing this, you do this. They're completely separate pages, so that when you're making that bird, you don't have to worry about, you know, the other birds being inside that pattern. It's just for that one. So clay is just 2 pages, and seagull's just 2 pages, and so on. So it's like 10, 12 pages long, and it's 4 separate patterns basically. So it's with their own little, obviously, instructions. They're different pieces on some of them. So anyway, it just takes a long time. So have a little bit of, like, when you're paying for a pattern, you're paying for that work, you know. And I know that because it's digital and it's done, like, it can seem like it's passive income, and it is once all of the work is done, and it's just there waiting, you know, waiting to be downloaded. The work is done, but you still then have the work of promoting it and continually talking about it, and then answering people's questions. They have difficulty downloading it. You know, it's it doesn't really go away after you just post it. So just remember that when you see the price of patterns. This bundle is $6.50 US dollars, normal price. But he is on sale for 25% off today only. It should end at around midnight my time, which I'm on Central Time in the United States. And which makes him like $4.87, I think. And you're going to get 4 patterns, guys. And so just remember that when you buy it, whether it's $4.87 or you're paying the whole $6.50, that you're getting 4 complete patterns in one for that price, which I think is great. You know, I paid $8 last week for 1 pattern. Actually, I paid $8 for 1 shark, and I paid $8 for 1 dog. So $6.50 for 4 is, and I get that they're not as complex and they're no-sew quick market makes, but that also then will benefit you if you do markets or you sell in stores or whatever it might be. These are quick little makes, especially once you get down the feet and the wings and the beak. Like they're very similar on every single pattern. So once you get down the motion of that, like making all that stuff ahead, so then making them into the body, like I can make one of my sitting birds, and I need to sit down and time myself. Maybe that's another video I'll do. But it's not hard. Like, yeah, there's pieces to make, but it's not like long legs and tails and things to make. It's like little pieces to make. Like I can make the pieces in like 1.5 to 2 minutes. So they're very quick. And then the body is what takes the time, and everything's just crocheted into it. And really the biggest part is like everything that people make is lining everything up to be centered, because everyone's tension is different. And so if you're not used to doing that and you follow my pattern just the way it is and everything's kind of sideways, you're going to need to do some adjustments, plus and minus a single crochet, to keep your design looking like my design. Okay. And also in doing that, and then there's notes in the pattern, but it says in the pattern, you know, if you do adjust where the wings are, don't take the adjustments out of here. Okay. There are 13 single crochets between the fronts of these wings, and you take them out of this back. Like adjust the very beginning part here if you need to place your first one, and then keep your 13 single crochets. Change where the beginning of that round is if you have to, and keep your 13s, especially on patterns like clay, who has color changes between here, because when you do the next round, if you don't have 13 single crochets between here and here, your color changes are not going to, they're just not going to look right and stacked right. So whenever you do make this pattern, out of the new pack, this is the only one that's super important, but the old pack, the penguin and the pigeon, both have color changes centered on the face, and so it's very important for those as well. So make sure you try to keep that centered. So and like I said, it says it in the pattern, but it's so easy to just get started. And it says adjust a single crochet or 2, but to me that doesn't mean like don't do it between the wings where the face shaping or the face detail is and the beak is and the color changes are, because it's gonna be, anyway, I wouldn't do that. Okay, I think I've rambled on enough, guys. I am going to be working on the squirrel the next couple days. We'll see if I can get a tester call out this week. Hopefully you guys love him. And I am going to maybe do a live to do inventory and tagging this week. We'll see. Hopefully the kids get to go back to school. It is supposed to be the warmest day today and finally get over freezing. So everything's going to melt, but then also everything then is it's going to be cold the next 3 days. So everything's going to freeze back over, and our side roads might just be ice again. So we'll see if they get cleaned off enough with 38-degree weather today and dried enough with the sun to maybe not be ice sheets, and maybe the kids will go back to school this week. Let's pray for that. And I think that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you have a great week. If you have questions, comments, I love them. Post them below. I love to interact with you guys in the comments. If you make the birds, tag me in them. I love to see your guys' creations, or if you make any of my patterns, I love to see your creations. Over on Instagram is where I'm the most active. Thank you again to all of my testers. I had, I think, 16 of you, because there were 4 different birds. And you guys all came through with Also, the duck has a solid option. You could just make it in yellow or white or whatever, and it looks like a chick instead of, because then it has the bill of the duck, so it looks like a baby duck, chick, or goose instead of looking like a mallard. So there's also kind of a fifth option in there. And several of you guys did 2 or 3 or 4 or all of the birds for me to test all those options out, and that was amazing. So I really appreciate you all. Huge shout out to testers. I could not do what I do without you guys, and you do it for free. I mean, you do it for the pattern, but you do it for free. Use your supplies, and I appreciate that. So I think that's all I have this week, guys. Like this video if you liked it. I appreciate that. It helps push it out. And subscribe to this channel if you are not already. I know, like, the algorithm tells me that like half of you guys that watch my videos don't regularly subscribe, which means that you don't get a notification in your subscription area saying that I posted a new video. Which means that you might randomly watch one video and then never watch me again because I may not come back up in your what to watch, you know, if you don't actually have me in your subscriptions. That's how it works. I love, and just so I'm going to side note, if I love a channel and I want to watch all of their videos and not miss one, the way I organize my YouTube is I subscribe first of all, and then I use my watch later list. And pretty much every day I go into YouTube, into my subscription tab, and I look at all the videos. I go down to the last one I've seen. I go through all of it, and I add to watch later, add to watch later, add to watch later. Everything in there that I've subscribed to that is something I want to watch. And then the next day I do the same thing down to, or next day or two, and then I go down to one where I'm like, oh, I've got that one in my watch later already. And then when I'm ready to watch videos, I don't have to go searching, trying to figure out who I'm going to watch that day. I go into my watch later. It's already got 100 some videos in it in my queue waiting to be watched. And I grab somebody's video and I just starts playing my watch later list, and it's amazing because I don't have to think about it, and I know that's stuff that I've been wanting to watch. So that's how I organize my YouTube. So if you don't do that and that's helpful at all, I don't know. You're probably thinking, Stacy, everybody in the world knows that, but whatever, maybe not. I don't know. But that's just the way I do it. So I don't miss the people that I subscribe to that I really want to watch. So I think that's all I have, guys. Again, like, subscribe, do the thing, comment below so we can talk. Let me know and tag me if you make the new birds, old birds, any of my patterns. I love to see it. And somebody holler at me about the 1.0 pack if you've already bought it, and go to re-download it if you get the new one. You can message me on Instagram or you can comment below. Either way. And then I'll try to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I'll probably just, someone will probably be pretty close down. I might pin it down in the comments, and that way you guys know what I ended up doing. So, okay, that's all I have for this week. Thank you guys for being here. Again, it was long, it was chatty. I'm sorry if you don't like that. Last week was long and chatty as well. And some of you commented and sent me messages and said you loved the long chatty form. It wasn't just chatty for no reason. It was chatty about crochet. People crochet while they're watching the videos. That's what I do too. Or they have it on while they're cleaning or working or whatever, and listening and kind of watching. So hopefully you guys like the longer form content. It does take longer for me to upload it and get it all ready, but I just happen to have a lot to talk about this week instead of, sometimes I don't. Sometimes my videos range around 30 minutes, and obviously last week and this week I had a lot to say, and they are around an hour. So again, thank you guys for being here. Leave me comments. I love to talk to you. Let me know what you're working on down in the comments. If you don't have anything else to say, let me know a new pattern that you tried that you loved. Anything like that. I would love to see it. So have a great week, guys. We'll talk to you later, and maybe you'll catch me on live this week. Have a good one. Happy crocheting, guys. We'll see you. Bye.